Snow tires are a very nice thing to have in the winter, and they're arguably crucial on a car that's rear-wheel drive like mine if you plan to daily drive it throughout the winter. I bought my car up north in New Hampshire in the middle of the winter, so it came with snow tires on it, which is very convenient for the winter. The only thing I don't love are these unattractive stock rims. I knew from the moment that I bought this car that I wanted it to be blacked out, so one of the very first things I did was black out the rims. At this point, that was 2 winters ago. As you can see, the Plasti Dip is holding up pretty well, but it's starting to peel around the edge of the rim. So now that we've finally got some 50 and 60 degree weather in the forecast, we can pull off these unsightly winter rims and we can finally reinstall the Avant-Garde M310s. Alrighty, so I just pulled the summer rims out of hibernation from up in the garage. They look pretty good for the most part, but I knew putting them away that I would have to do a little bit of work to them this spring. As you can see, this rim here has a little bit of curb rash, nothing too serious, and this one here also has a minor ding. This minor of damage really doesn't justify respraying an entire rim because that's an extraordinary amount of work for such a small amount of damage. So we'll be taking the quicker route of just leveling out the damaged area and applying some touch-up paint rather than refinishing the entire rim. So not only does this repair not require a lot of time, it's also easy on the bank. This project really only requires 2 materials, that being your sanding materials. If you have access to a compressor, an AR angle die grinder is a great choice. I didn't have one, so I picked this one up for 14 bucks at Harbor Freight, along with some assorted abrasive wheels. Of course, you'll be needing your touch-up paint, so I went with what I hope is the best option. I got the Duplicolor Universal Black, and my thoughts on that are, I'd rather it be a little too glossy than too matte, because if it's too glossy, I can just take some very fine sandpaper and rough up the surface to dull it down and match it to the satin black. I'm going to be using a foam-backed wheel, which has a little bit of give to it, so we won't gouge too far into the rim. And I'm also starting off with a 150 grit pad, start off on the lighter side. Now, if you don't have an air compressor or an air angle grinder, you can always use sandpaper. These rims are pretty soft, and it's not too difficult to sand them down by hand. Took all of 2 minutes and I'm just about done here, and the main goal is to make the surface as smooth as possible so that you don't notice any imperfections after applying the touch-up paint. Sand down the other rim and then we'll get painting. Alright, we've now got both rims sanded down here. I'm just going to apply some simple green to remove any grease or dirt. Now, I'm not really too concerned about the tires, just to prevent any paint from getting on them and then having to clean it off. I'm going to stick some index cards in between the tire and the rim just to catch any paint that might spill over the rim. Now it has 3 instructions here. It says prep it using this abrasive tip, but we've already done so by sanding it and cleaning it with the simple green. It then tells you to immediately paint it. This is a paint primer combo, so we don't have to worry about priming. And lastly, they do include a clear coat. As I said, we might have to sand it down to get it to match the satin finish. So these little Duplicolor paint kits have the abrasive tip, obviously. You can pull this off and it's a fine point pen. If you unscrew this cap, you can have direct access to the paint and apply it with a brush. And on the opposite end is the clear coat. So the pen seems really fine, but I'm gonna give it a shot just to see how well it works, because I don't want the paint job to be messy. This little paint pen is actually really good. I really don't even need these cards. It allows you to be very accurate with the paint. Difficult to make any conclusive comments at this point as the paint hasn't yet dried, but as you can see, it is a good color match. I'm gonna go paint the other rim and we'll let this dry. So while we're waiting for the paint to dry on the rims, we'll pull the car in here and we'll begin pulling off the winter tires. Alright, so the touch-up paint is dry to the touch here. It's not rubbing off at all. and the instructions do say it's dry to the touch within 20 minutes, handleable within 40. It's been about 45 minutes. The finish is pretty smooth. For now, we're gonna throw the rims on the car and let the paint cure overnight, and we'll see how it looks tomorrow. Alrighty, all the Avant-Garde rims are on the car, but I'm not gonna give you a full look at them yet because they're quite dirty. So I'm gonna give the car a nice wash tomorrow, and then I'll give you a full reveal. So I gave the car a nice full wash. I cleaned off the wheels with some Turtle Wax wheel and tire cleaner, and then finished them off with some Griot spray wax. Looking at this rim, you really couldn't even tell that it's been repaired at all. It honestly takes me a minute of running my finger around the rim to even find where it was repaired. On this one, it's right down at this spoke here. If you look for it, you can see it, but it really isn't noticeable whatsoever. See if you can spot it here. If you couldn't, I'm not surprised. It's pretty hidden right here. You can hardly see that there's an indent. The paint color is a perfect match. Well, I'm really happy to have the Avant-Garde rims back on this car, along with the Michelin Pilot Supersport tires. They make it feel like an entirely different car, especially after driving it all winter on the stock rims and the snow tires. Those feel like bubble gum. When you throw these on, it turns into a completely different car. When I first got these wheels and tires last summer, I was tempted immediately to just make a video on why you should get summer tires and why, in my opinion, these are the best summer tires you can buy. But at that point, I had only had them for a week or so, and it really wouldn't be fair to make such an opinionated video at that point. So if you guys are interested in a review of the Michelin Pilot Supersport tires, let me know down in the comments, and I'll be sure to add that to the list, and I'll get working on it as soon as possible. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Definitely be sure to check out jd-cars.com for all of your JD Cars merch. Please leave a like below and subscribe if you've yet to do so. And that's all until I see you next time on JD Cars.